Bible underneath my right hand. I made it out of tight jams. Guns all on my nightstand. My life should be on Viceland. My fingertips to hold the marijuana aroma. High school, I went to school high, still got my diploma. He got riddled and left alone for some Skittles in Arizona. Bible underneath my right hand. I made it out of tight jams.
This is Uncreative Radio. I'm with my man, Calvin O Neal. Finally. No relation to Shaquille.
No.
Do people ask you that?
All the time. And I tell them he's my second cousin.
That's good.
And they believe me for 30 minutes.
That's good.
For that 30 minutes.
Did your last name come up when he came to Magic Leap?
A little bit.
Was he like, you're like, I'm an O'Neal?
I mean, it can only work in your circle so many times. I'm an O'Neal as well.
I just want to let you know.
Oh, Shaq's in the house. Okay.
Yeah.
I can.
He's huge.
Talk to him.
He's huge.
He's really big.
We went to Atlanta and we
met in Film Shack. Yeah.
Yeah. That was what's the show called? TNT, the NBA on TNT. That was a good.
That was a nice studio, man.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
and we've had quite an adventure.
I mean, to put it bluntly, I mean, if you're gonna meet somebody for the first time, my recommendation: go around the world with them in 2 weeks?
Yeah. 14 days.
14 days. That's the best way to finally meet a stranger or get to know somebody.
11 days.
11 days.
No, 14 days, 11 countries, some crazy. I don't know what it was.
Yep.
One of
or
those.
Strike that, reverse it. But yeah, one of those.
Yeah, we did that. We went around the world. That was a crazy adventure.
Crazy, awesome adventure.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome though, man. It was cool too because they were like, when they were talking to us, they were like, Calvin's gonna come too. And had we done anything together before that?
We had a couple meetings, but we hadn't done anything.
Yeah,
yet.
and then that was the first time, and I was like, okay, this is good. And then we met, and then you came in the airport, and I was like, and you were doing a random push-up challenge, and I was like, okay, this guy's gonna be cool. And then we toured the whole country.
The entire country,
the world. We actually started in Florida, and we went a full circle around the globe.
Like literally around the globe.
An actual, not like we went there and came back. We like circled it.
It was Florida, Europe, Middle East. We
had to stop in Korea.
Then we went to New Zealand, and then back to San Francisco.
We circled it.
We circled it, and the craziest thing was, I think we lost. We had like 2 Wednesdays in a row or something.
That was the weirdest thing,
and we never had a Saturday or something like that.
I remember going because we were in New Zealand and it was like Wednesday or something, and then we went to San Francisco. It was the beginning of Wednesday in New Zealand, and then we left, and it was the beginning of Wednesday in San Francisco. I was like, I think this is a way to get an alibi to kill someone. You can say you were somewhere else
on a plane watching all the Lord of the Rings movies.
Or is this like a movie premise? Like if you just fly back and forth from San Francisco to New Zealand, do you ever age?
Or do you ever have experienced time?
Yeah.
Can you be like an influx of time?
Yeah, if you just go back and forth.
I'm sure you have. Like someone's been trying to do this.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna talk to them on Clubhouse. You told me you sent me a Clubhouse thing.
I sent you an invite.
I don't even know what it is.
How you liking it? Well,
I don't even.
Okay, so from someone who has never experienced Clubhouse, what's your honest intake of what it is?
Okay, first I didn't like there being like another social media, thing.
Right.
I can't.
There's so many.
I can't even like I have, and I'm also like a social media hater. I think.
But you kind of excel at it. Like behind the curtains, but you also kind of low-key hate it justifiably.
Here's the thing. I cannot be those people that are just like talking to the camera. Like some people can do it.
The people that just go on live.
Just so guys, today, like how I could never do that. So there's this like hatred I have with social media and, the general sense that like nothing is real.
Right. You're kind of you're just creating this image projection of yourself that other people see, and it kind of just makes you think about the dichotomy of yourself. Okay, if all this is fake, what parts of me that I'm not telling everyone is real?
Exactly. And who is the real me? And that's what I think that's like very odd about social media. And I think for every for every good, like, I connected with this person on social media story, or we became friends and I never blah, blah, blah. For every one of those stories, there's like 10, like, I'm like sexually masturbating to a 4-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many, like, I'm
really
stalking.
bad.
Yeah. So, like, for every good one of those, there's like horrible people that are using it for like horrible ass things.
It's really interesting. I mean, like, what, 25 years ago, you would never have someone from, like, you know, the South talk to someone from, like, Seattle, like, on a post, because if those two people had opposing views, they would never see each other ever, like 25 years ago.
For sure.
But now you can just go on your phone and you can see what someone from Seattle or someone from Georgia is saying, and you're automatically, you know, exposed to more beliefs and cultures.
It's wild.
Yeah, it kind of just sped up, you know, our kind of like emotional evolution a little bit.
It's been interesting too, like, and then you know, with Biden stepping in.
Yeah.
And Parler became there was a fun moment with Parler. I got on Parler.
No, I got it too. I was like, I got to see
what
the others.
Parler, and I started just saying shit. That was one of my favorite times on social. Mm-hmm. But when you get on Parler, maybe you had like the same experience. Like, you're like kind of like, yo, what the fuck is this place?
Yeah.
And everyone is saying really crazy ass shit, and they fucking mean it. And then, like, they really, really believe it.
Yeah.
That was the thing for me that I was like, holy crap.
That's what you kind of, a lot of people, I got a little bit of flack for going on Parler, and, like, I understand it, but for the same reason you probably did, I went on it because I needed to see what the other side is saying.
Yeah.
Reviews that I don't agree with, because I'm not really down for just taking out everyone's views, because I think that's when you get surprised, just like January 6th.
Yes.
Because if you're really paying attention and, like, listening to the other side, being on Parler or seeing what's going on.
You're like, dude, these guys are fucking real.
Right.
They're coming.
Right. They're coming. A lot of people said, like, you know, stay out of Washington during the 6th. You know, I kind of was a little taken aback, but I was not surprised.
No, I opposing views. Let's talk about that. I feel opposing views to me, because that's why I went on it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to live. Obviously, I voted for Biden, and I think I don't like hate and. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't believe in space lasers, and just, you know, I'm a regular dude.
Right.
And also, but I think that, like, seeing the other side lets me know what America is. Right. And without that, you kind of like for me and you, like we met in South Florida, and then like you said, we went to Atlanta, and now you live in LA. Like, we have this very, like, coastal, liberal.
We have a good scope of what America can entail.
Right. Yeah. And then we live in these cities that are like, you can live in a liberal bubble. Like,
big time.
You know, like, you're in New York, you're in LA, you're in Miami. Like, we're not gonna, but there's a lot of Kentucky. And there's a lot of Nebraska.
A lot of Virginia.
And you don't ever see that. You know, the only time I'm like going to Nebraska is like, from like layover, and something's wrong with the plane engine, or
and you kind of like, and that's why they're kind of called flyover states. But like, I don't think these people in those states should be looked over. I mean, I think you're right. Listening to what the other side is tapping into what's going on in America, because I already know what my American experience is.
Right.
I'm trying to balance it with what I know is going on and out there.
And it's like, at what point is this like? You know, it's like, I know what my views are, but like, I'll listen to yours, and then construct my own idea. But also, like, I want to know, like, what is the, you know, what are people thinking, and how different are we? And I think the election really showed us that, like, oh, we're super different.
I mean, it did kind of like, it did force us to look at those differences, but it did, you know, force a lot of similarities to come up as well. I think a lot of people, you know, were Republican, you know, ended up voting against Trump, you know, and there's a lot of that going on. And I know a lot of Republicans that don't believe in space lasers, but they're still, you know,
they're stuck. Like,
they're stuck.
You can't tell me that, like, I know, like, these like Republican congressmen are like, you know, like, come on, we know who won the election, right? But I can't say it. Because, like,
Lindsey Graham, perfect example.
Because I mean, it's like, yo, your re-elections, and you got funding, and it's just like, what's your place in the party?
Yep.
You may have to say some shit.
Yeah.
You may have to agree with some. And it's funny, you saw like little blips from him. Like, when January 6th happened, he was like, all right, guys, I'm out.
Now
like Trump.
I'm done.
He's like, I'm done. And then like a couple weeks later, he's like, what's up, guys? I'm back. He's like, he's back doing the same.
So who doesn't want to believe in the election now?
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's like really interesting to see like the state of like the country, and then have how things have. I don't know how things have been going amongst the pandemic, and I felt like we got like really set up, like. It was really, really weird.
Yeah.
Like the world shut down.
Yep.
And then it was like, George Floyd and super Black Lives Matter, like protest movements. That was happening at the same time as this pandemic, which was like, I thought was like, oh, this motherfucker's gonna break, And then the icing on the cake is like, and it's an election year, you
couldn't write this, man.
You couldn't, man.
You couldn't.
So what was the last year like for you? Because I don't know, when did you start at Disney? Because I know you're at Disney now.
I started the week of Juneteenth.
Oh shit! Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
it was an interesting week. Very excited. Also, like culturally thinking about what's going on.
Right.
But then also, that was also the week where the Los Angeles protest happened.
Yeah.
The biggest one in the country.
100%.
So there's a lot of emotions going on during that time.
Yeah.
It was just an emotional year. You just kind of throw everything you've had to prepare yourself emotionally your entire life for like, I guess, moments like these. Because, the election, when you're a young black kid, young black boy, you have the talk when you're 5.
Right.
Moments like, May of 2020, like, are kind of like a prophecy coming true.
Yeah, it's weird. It's really weird.
It's really weird. I think just the pandemic kind of already incited so much that was already building up.
Did you think it was going to change? Like when the protests were happening, because everyone's like, we're on the path, this isn't going to change. Did you think the protests at some point people were going to be like when George Floyd and Auburn, did you think people were going to be like, all right, guys, come on, we're fucking up. We need to stop killing people. Did you have hope, or were you like, nah, this is just another day in the another book, another chapter in the book?
I feel like it was another chapter in the book for me, but for a lot of people who weren't black, it wasn't.
Right.
It was like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
I'm opening up a new chapter, and it's like, well, I've been on chapter 36,
and you're just right. You didn't. I thought like a lot of people were like, oh, you guys, because Juneteenth got popular.
People didn't know about it.
Juneteenth got popular,
yep.
And that's not been. That's something that we've always known about.
People thought, and that just goes into what kids are learning in school these days. They thought slavery just ended.
Right.
It's over.
Right.
Okay. We did it. Everyone's free. Like black people have all these rights now, and it was a journey, man. It still is a journey.
Right.
I mean, I think the one thing that really struck me was like Rush Limbaugh went on the Breakfast Club.
Right.
And I don't know if you listened to that,
right.
But he was just like, okay, I know I've said some crazy stuff my entire life, and we might not see eye to eye, but like what I saw like in that video, it kind of irks me.
Right.
And when you hear someone like, Rush Limbaugh go that far, I'm not saying everyone went that far, but that was kind of, for me, that's like, okay, well, someone's taking notice.
Right.
We can't really go back from here because someone put their knee on a man's neck for 9 minutes. And Josh, they thought they were going to continue with their lives.
Right. The thing is like, it wasn't that happened for me. Like the George Floyd thing, I was like, we've seen that in different ways.
Yeah.
But it was the first time that it was so apparent that, this is fucked up. That so many people just fucking turn their eyes away.
Yeah.
And that to me was like, oh, this is real bad.
Yeah.
Like, there's like at some point, it's like Calvin goes into a toy store and steals a toy, and he's on camera stealing the toy. It's a close-up of your face. Mm-hmm. The only thing Calvin can say at that point is like, oh yeah, my bad, guys, that was me. Yeah. But this is a new world where people are like, no, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. And you're like, what is, hold on, we're disagreeing on facts.
Yep.
So like, you can, it's like we're seeing what happened, and then everyone is disagreeing on the actual facts. That's the crazy part. That like, and we dealt with that with COVID and with the election.
How do you reconcile that?
I don't fucking think you can. Like the COVID was real, and when it was introduced, and when it was introduced or talked about by Trump and the Republicans, it was a hoax and it was bullshit. And but
then we heard him on the phone call, man. It was just
then he was a different person.
And
but it doesn't change the mind of any of them. When he was on the phone call, he was like, "Yo, this shit's really bad.
This is going to define my legacy. This is a big thing."
And then the people that are following him are like, they hear both sides. Like, this motherfucker is a liar. So either they're like, "I don't care," or they're like, no, he didn't lie. You didn't understand. You took it out of context what he was saying.
I think it's like an emotional argument now instead of like a factual one. And I try to, I grew up, Democrat. I'm really trying to lean independent now because, Well,
Democrats do some things that bother me as well all the time. But I felt like it's interesting to see that like you can't agree on like some real. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, like Ahmaud Arbery like shouldn't have been killed. Can we like agree on that? How about Breonna Taylor was in her own fucking house? Can we get on the same page? And we can't get on the same page on that.
But then I hear, well, his boyfriend fired at the cops, and it's like she brought that out in herself.
Right.
I saw so many people talk about George Floyd, like he was a criminal.
Of course,
Candace Owens went on. And then you have a lot of people who have different views who are like posting Candace Owens videos, like it vindicates
what
the argument because a black person says it. I think there can be poster people on either side. It's just how you want to convey the argument. I just criminal record or not, I don't think he deserved to be.
People don't deserve to be. You don't deserve to be murdered. No. Like you can. Maybe need to be arrested if you're a criminal, or some sort of due process, but you don't need to be murdered in the streets.
Right.
And I think that's been, I think white people saw what a very, very small glimpse of what we have lived with, since the day we were born. And we're kind of like, I'm sure you got more like, Calvin, like I can't even believe this is what you're going through, talks this year than any other year.
Yeah, I did, and some of those were nice, and some of those were bittersweet.
Yeah, right.
Because
like, don't talk to me.
there was some. I know exactly. Oh my gosh, man. But there were some really healthy conversations.
Yeah,
and the healthy conversations were people who had like listened a little bit in the past, but maybe didn't put two and two together. Right. Like, hey, Calvin, I remember you telling this to me like in third grade or back when we worked here or this or that, and I didn't really get it. Or people saying I don't really get it, and I really want to have the conversation. And there's some people who are saying, like, hey, I need you to explain this for me.
Right.
And that's kind of tough when I've tried to have the conversation with those people and they didn't want to listen. But now when I'm going through like this, emotionally traumatic experience of seeing what happened with George Floyd, it's like, it's hard to take a piece of yourself and, explain it delicately when there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack. And I think a lot of people thought it was easy to just, have these conversations, but they're learning how like deep rooted it is for the first time.
The thing with George that I think was the biggest kicker is because there was all these videos that go around about like when black people have the talk, or when you talk to your kids. The thing that really sucked is the talk is very simple. It's like, if you get pulled over by the cops, make sure your hands are in the steering wheel, make sure you say very respectful. Right. Like if you ever see a fucking black person get pulled over, they turn into the most like respect, like, yes sir, officer, blah blah blah. I got pulled over with my white friends and they're just like rude and shit. I'm like, what are you doing? We're gonna fucking die here.
I'm going into the sorry to bother you voice. Yeah. I'm going to Will Smith in the episode. And Carlton's like, Will, what's going on? And he's like, Carlton, just put your hand on the like,
and
on the
hood,
man.
But I think the thing, so that's like the talk.
Yeah.
It was like, be respectful, blah, 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 blah. Yep. But George Floyd was the example of like, that doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter what, you got both of your hands sky high, you still could die.
It doesn't matter. And I feel like that was kind of the tipping point because with every situation before, even like Trayvon Martin, like there was some like space for doubt. It was like,
right.
There's
no video in Trayvon.
There's no video. Like we're hearing stuff, but like there's no unequivocal evidence that this is a racial problem.
Sure.
There's no unequivocal evidence.
Maybe George is just a fucking idiot. You're right, yeah.
But that just made it kind of unequivocally clear that
we have a
major problem.
Yeah. We got
and you know, it's kind of, it was tough, man, because you try to contextualize it yourself all the time, because I think you hit the nail on the head. It was, you know, hey, racism isn't that much of a problem. We might need to help each other here and there, but this isn't really a big issue. But I think, you know, having the talk, we're taught to, you know, when we have the talk, we're taught to, you know, act a certain way in certain social settings, you know, feel a certain way, you know, project a certain image. And I think that's one way a lot of people like social media, is because they can project a part of yourself. We're trying to project a part of ourselves to like kind of survive in this society that some say might not have been built for us. But when you check all the boxes and you follow all the rules, you know, you go to school, you go to college, you get a job, and you're a black person. You know, Obama went to Harvard. Right. You know, there's a certain level of you got to work twice as hard to be, you know,
just to be in the same.
And I think what broke the hearts of so many black people was, okay, we've been told this, and some of us feed into this idea and hold on to this idea just to wake up every day.
Yeah, right.
If I just act like this, I will be accepted as a person a little bit more.
Right.
And then when you see that, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, right. Like,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
And that's so hard, right? Because a lot of black people lie to ourselves every day. Like, me talking this way, me acting this way, it matters because it shows like I'm a part of society and I can, you know, contribute to society. It's like, no, you already can. It's hard to unravel that kind of thinking, but it's also tragic when you have to, like, you know, go through those emotions of like, no, this doesn't matter. Like, prime example for me, one of the best days of my life. So when I worked on a short film that won an Oscar. I was celebrating with friends. It was like...
That was like a little bit ago.
That was 2012.
2012, okay, yeah. So you had there was like a recent anniversary I saw.
That was a recent anniversary,
okay, cool.
So it was an exciting moment. You know, I played a small part of it, but all the people I worked with, like, you know, it was a great experience. It's something I'll treasure for the rest of my life. That same night I was celebrating, you know. I celebrated with friends, you know, went out, drank a little bit, you know, had a good time. And then, you know, I wake up the next morning. And I turn on the news, and it's Good Morning America, and I see Trayvon Martin's face. And it's just like, it kind of felt like I was looking in the mirror a little bit. Right. And it was like, why am I looking at this kid? Right. What happened? Why is he making national news? And then it's just like, right. It kind of contextualizes it, you know? Because you kind of like aspire to, like, you know, hit a personal goal like your whole life when you're kind of given the talk. You're like, okay, once I work twice as hard, there'll be a point where I can take a breath and relax. Where it works. I think after that happened, I think it was like, the next morning or the morning, 2 mornings after, like, I kind of realized, it doesn't really matter. Man.
And like you saw, like Jay Farrow just got Jay Farrow
walking down the street, man.
You know, so you're just like, fuck.
Like what? You know? I mean, what, Serena Williams?
Yeah, man.
When she was trying to give birth, like, they didn't believe her pain.
Yeah.
Oh, you're okay. Yeah. No,
yeah, man.
I'm not. And we're statistically not. There's so many.
It's wild.
It's wild. And when you hear about so many different, you know, issues like that, like, as a black person, you gotta kind of be ready for all those. It's like, okay, at the hospital, okay, they cannot believe us. Like, if I do this, they cannot believe us. If I drive like this, they could do this. Right. Or if I say something like this, or if I'm too loud. Like, all these things. And it's like the daily black checkbox is what I kind of call it.
That's interesting, man. And then to do that and go through all that, through COVID as well, you know? Yeah. And then that was COVID, like, I don't know, man. You never saw the world shut down before.
No, there was something oddly peaceful about it for a second there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was like good for the earth.
Yeah, good for the earth. Everyone had to, like, take a step back.
Yeah.
But I think right after you took a step back, it was like, oh crap, like we don't have an infrastructure for a lot of stuff here.
And that's the thing for me that I thought was shocking.
Yeah. So
what, hold on. What the fuck do you guys do in the Capitol building? Don't you guys come up with fucking plans? This is what your whole job is for plans?
You know, I had some friends in Canada that I'm like, how you guys doing? Is everything all right? Oh yeah, we got, $2,000 every month.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah,
we're good.
They just started rolling Plan A4 because,
I just don't understand. Like and that's where things get tough because you want people to, be safe, but you're giving no people a means to live safely if they can't afford to live where they need to live, or they're being forced into places that they would normally avoid if they couldn't. I mean, it brought up so many issues as a collective that nobody gives
that's the thing that I was trying to explain to people, that you only understand if you've been poor.
Right.
Like nobody gives a fuck about wearing a mask if you can't eat.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like COVID isn't people's top priority
right.
if your kids don't have food.
Yeah.
So like,
and all the food lines, man.
That's what I mean. It's
I never would expect
man.
all the food lines.
And it's like the pandemic was, like everyone was going through the pandemic, but not at the same level.
Right.
And so you got people, and this is where I thought it was like really weird. Like you've got people that didn't lose their jobs that are getting checks.
Yep.
And then you got people that lost their jobs and lost everything that are like getting the same check that you're getting, making $80,000 a year. That just doesn't make any sense.
I think Shake Shack got $10 million.
Yeah, you're just like, what? And they still left and laid off people, so
and it kind of exposed so many flaws in the system, I think.
Yeah, man.
It's people, friends helping friends.
Yeah.
Because if, little mom and pop shop doesn't have someone in Congress.
I mean, the mom and pop shop, the small business, what we went through was like really interesting. Like,
yeah, how'd you guys survive COVID as a media production company?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It was March, and I went to Hawaii with Katie and Beth. We were shooting, I don't even know what were we even doing? MRI. There was we were doing this, I don't know.
Isn't Hawaii awesome?
Dude, it was funny because we thought we almost died.
It kind of feels like that when you go there. It's like, am I in heaven?
Well, it was this plane ride. We thought we were going to die.
Oh, that's more serious.
Yeah.
That's more Final Destination.
So we flew to Honolulu on from LA, on a big, thing.
Yeah.
No problems.
Right.
From Honolulu to Maui, we took this little shitter.
Oh yeah, I've been on the little shitter.
On the little shitter. So
a puddle jumper.
At some point, to get into Maui, this guy is like, I've never felt like holding onto my seat going down before, but that's what it was doing.
Oh wow!
And I don't throw up on planes or anything. I see Beth just throw up, or Katie grabs the bag, and I'm like feeling it too. I'm like, oh, when someone throws up, you're like, I'm not.
It's like a chain reaction.
Anyway, and then he hits the ground like boom, and we're just like, holy shit! And I just didn't know how that was gonna go, and then when the guy comes out and he was like, "Oh, that's just Frank. Frank always." So that was that's how we got to Hawaii. And then we shoot this thing. Thank God Katie was shooting it. Mm-hmm. And then the first, second night or something, Beth got insane food poisoning.
Really?
Like crazy shit.
Oh no.
And I'm sitting there just like, man, it fucking sucks, man. Food poisoning gets you. Next night, I get it done. It was some fierce. I don't even know how to explain it.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, but when we were going to Hawaii, we were hearing about we were in Hawaii January 31st, March 1st. We were hearing about this virus thing.
Yeah.
But it's we hear about Ebola, I don't know, they'll fix it. Then
right.
But this one seemed a little bigger. So I'm not this guy, but I gave on the plane, I talked to them. I was like, "Hey guys, I think we should wear these masks." And then, because I don't know what's going on. And then, so when we got back from that trip, it was in full force.
Yeah.
Shit was shutting down.
Yep.
And the things that got hit the hardest were obviously restaurants, hospitality, and fucking entertainment. Mm-hmm. And if you were in the entertainment industry, production or live or whatever, it halted. And so March and April, it was not good. We were really scared, and we have a staff, obviously.
Yep.
And we tried to get real creative in a lot of different ways, and that creativity and a lot of like, we were just, it was really, really scary, man.
Yeah.
And we went, and I thought that was really interesting because they wanted to tell you, hey, you, as a small business, it was different, because we've got people that are relying on us for, and their families.
Yep.
But they were telling you, you need to shut down. You can't work. Well, if I can't work, then they can't get paid. And I thought that was really weird. And so,
exactly.
And then you give me money, but I'm giving all of that money so they can get paid. So what about the business? How does it pay its bills? Like what? I can only use this money to pay them. Right. Okay. Cool.
Because you're not going to pay them.
Yeah. Because you're not paying them. So you're giving money to me. So you gave them $600. I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even know.
1,200 then 600.
I don't even know. Like that's
still not even 2,000 over a year, man.
Yeah.
$1,800 for
That's it.
For a year.
And that's what I mean. And they gave some PPP small business money for like 8 weeks. So I was like, cool. Well, my people can get paid for 8 weeks. But that couldn't. So I just felt like I see every politician on both sides talk about how small business are the backbones of this economy, and I saw them just completely neglect them. And I saw Ruth Chris get money, and I saw everyone get money, but our company, obviously we didn't. So it was very scary to figure out how we were going to make it through, because I think no one would have had a problem shutting down.
Right.
And I think it's a very and that's what I mean by no one cares about wearing a mask if they're worried about how to eat.
Right.
So it's like the government, in my opinion, should have been like, yo, businesses, here's money.
Yeah.
Don't work. Shut down.
Yeah.
And now we're cool.
Because
now we got money and we don't have to feel pressure, but you didn't give us that money.
Nope.
But you told me to shut down.
Yep.
And then you see these 30-year-old restaurants closing forever. You see these people just in our industry, agencies just shutting down. Boom, 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 boom.
Up creek, no paddle.
Yeah, so it was really scary. Our team got really creative, and
when did you start seeing the light at the end of not at the end of the tunnel, but a light of where we can start maybe making some stuff move?
It was for us, it was towards the end of the summer, I think. Mm-hmm. We were there was some businesses and some of our clients are like, I guess we got to keep doing work, because when COVID first hit, mm-hmm. it was April, guys, we're shutting down for 2 weeks. That'll knock this thing out. That'll take this virus right out.
I can't believe it's been a year.
Remember that? Then it was 8 weeks.
Yep.
And then it was and then we're like, yo.
Oh,
and then,
end of the summer.
Yeah. And then someone said I don't know, our fall. Sarah was telling me some girl on our team. She was just like, yo, I don't think schools are gonna be open in the fall. I was like, fall.
Oh my gosh.
No, we're good. So they were right. So it was this thing that lingered. Yeah. And so by the time end of around September hit, businesses were like, we're gonna have to do stuff or we're gonna die too. And so that we kind of started to feel that. And then Florida decided not to give a fuck.
They just didn't care.
They just once Disney reopened, I was like, oh shit.
Wow.
Because they were just gonna. They don't close that park.
Yep.
Once it opened back up, I was like, they're never closing it again.
No. So how being in Florida? What was that like for you? DeSantis opening everything up.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
It was quite terrifying.
Yeah.
It was a part of me that was excited because it was I'm glad that the business isn't impacted.
Right.
But the numbers were skyrocketing. Yeah. And then you're just everyone in the studio got it. Everyone had it, so it's not
that's the biggest thing. A lot of people are like, oh, well, if you get it, you're going to be fine. But it's not, that's ignorant, but it's also, okay, even if you get it and you're asymptomatic, you can pass it on to someone else who's not going to be as lucky.
Right.
I had a family member pass away from it, somebody in Ohio didn't do something and it spread and it got to a family member of mine. And that's the case for everybody everywhere. Someone could have a family member in LA that that I wouldn't really know, but if I got in contact with them if I just didn't wear my mask one time,
that's it.
I
thought that the way that they rolled it out was stupid because I thought this whole wearing a mask thing, when it was first rolled out, it was the mask is for other people. So they kept pushing that you know, like this is gonna help you. This is like, you know, in the grocery store, clerks like wear your mask because, you know, as you whatever's coming out of your mouth is gonna stop somebody else. But I thought that messaging, like, guys, you don't have a clue. This is America. No one gives a fuck about anybody else. I thought that was the hardest.
That was the hardest thing. Like, I mean, it was interesting. I went to Japan November 2019 to visit a friend, and I get off the plane and I get on some trains and I see people wearing masks.
Right.
And as an American, like, I got a little freaked out.
You're like, what's going on?
I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening?
Right.
I just like buy a mask at like, you know, a train stop. I see my friend and I'm like, hey, Raph, like, what's going on? It's like, everything okay? And he's like, oh no, man. When people get sick here, they wear masks because they don't want other people to get sick. And I was like, you know, that meme from The Wire. I was like, that's actually really nice.
Right. You're like,
that's
they care here?
They care, and it's like, it's a culture there.
And
it's a culture.
And that's what sucks, because if you wanted masks to be effective,
right,
you should have said, if you wear a mask, you won't get it. But then Americans would have been like, oh, I care about me.
I care about me.
I don't want these motherfuckers to, you know, that's what, and I thought they went about it like Americans care about other people.
And that's the biggest argument I've heard of people saying, people who are against masks, like, oh, I'm going to be fine. It's not that deadly. It's kind of like the flu, you know?
Right.
It's always, it's me.
It's like, and that's why that's why I knew, like, you know,
we're in trouble.
When was Australia? Was it Australia? They were like back in business, like,
Oh, and New Zealand.
They were like making Lord of the Rings.
Having outdoor concerts, like raves.
They were. But how long ago was that? That was months ago.
They
did that.
They were by the summer, by May.
They knocked that thing out. But that's, Americans are just, we are so divided on everything.
On so many issues.
We made a virus that kills anybody, a political. We made you wear a mask, you're a mask person, and there's people in Congress like, I'm not wearing it, and Trump's told everybody when at their little, like, don't everyone take your mask off. Like,
don't you find that kind of interesting? Because sometimes when race is brought up, some people will tell me like, hey, don't be political, and it's interesting to me. It's like, I don't really find that political. You know, I think like maybe raising property taxes might be like, how do you do that? Like in a jurisdiction, that might be political. But when you're talking about, you know, lives and like, you know, discrimination people face or what have you,
it's not a view. It's a fact of what's happening, and we have these, you know. COVID was a statistics, like math and science of like smart people. And then same with like the election. Like, no, there's like a system of how votes are done. And then like people are like, no, I don't believe any of that.
It's been here.
I don't believe any of that.
We've been doing this since the beginning of our country.
Right.
Like mail-in voting has been a thing.
And everyone's like, all these votes. And it's like, man, we had a pandemic. We did things differently. But people are, I mean, since we can't agree on facts, then I have no idea how this is going to be resolved.
I mean, I don't either.
It's just like we're just kind of living.
I think I don't know how it's going to be resolved. I think I know where to start. It's since facts aren't on the table.
Since facts aren't on the table,
or maybe I should say, since facts or if facts aren't on the table.
Right.
You got to look into the emotions of people.
Yeah.
Because you're obviously not talking about facts, you're talking about emotions. You know, when Trump, you know, said, you know, there's no way I could have lost, I felt like, you know, I was kind of laughing on the outside, but on the inside, I'm like, oh man, this guy, his feelings are really hurt. You know, if you're like taking all like the political, you know, aspects out of it, if you look at it from a human standpoint, this guy's feelings are hurt.
His feelings were hurt because if you look at it, I mean, just look how he surrounds his life, you know. Like, I can live a very liberal, you know, black experience, you know what I mean? And then not see anything else.
Yes.
So then I can get fucking surprised if these cops are fucking racist or people say something to me the sideways or whatever.
Right.
Trump kind of lived that way. Like, he's only seeing like that Fox News and everyone's kind of just like pampering him.
He's kind of, we're in an echo chamber kind of.
Yeah, I don't feel like Trump. I don't feel like people were telling Trump like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're gonna pull this one out, dude. I think everyone's like, you got it. Everyone loves you.
But that's the thing. Like when I said I don't know how we, you know, solve this problem, but like emotion was how people were able to like get through to him. Right. It was like, hey, if I'm trying to cater to your emotions, like, hey, man, you got this. Like,
right.
Even though like Georgia's not looking good, like, hey, man, you got this.
Don't worry, buddy. Right.
That emotional encouragement, I don't know how you tie that into like, okay, hey, buddy, you did really well, but this isn't working out.
Right.
And, I think that's, an emotional problem, like a mental health problem.
Sure.
Like in terms of like, how do we, because sometimes people are just illogical. Anybody. Sometimes when anyone's mad, it's just like, oh man, okay, I'm gonna like forget I said A, B, or C, and I'm just gonna be angry, and then I'm gonna reel back and be like, oh wait, oh my gosh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But some people don't have that filter. What do you do with people who don't have that filter? I don't know, man.
It was everything got full circle for me, from being black to going through COVID, and being treated differently. And then small businesses, and you don't think things are fair, on January 6th. And to me, that like nothing happened to these people. Like, obviously we talk all the time about like, oh, if he was black, we talk about that all the time. But the fact that like, man, can you imagine like just Josh and Calvin going into the Capitol building? How fucking dead would we be?
No, Josh,
how dead would we be?
I got a cop put his hand on his gun because I was listening to Radiohead having too much fun in the car one time.
Right.
No, that's not happening. I mean, it's a death wish.
So for them to go through that and then just to be like, okay, we arrested them for show, but we released them or whatever. Like, for it to just be whatever, and then just kind of move through. Like, that's January 6th is past.
It kind of feels like it doesn't even matter anymore. It kind of feels like whatever, doesn't it? Because
we just would have been held so fucking accountable.
Yeah,
and that to me is like, well, damn, I guess. Damn. And then for no one to really see that, or
I mean, I think it kind of speaks. I think after George Floyd, things became quite clear. I think at this point now, it's like, the sides have already been drawn. It's like,
and that's it.
A lot of people like texted me on the 6th. They were just like, "Hey man, like I just want you to know, I see the difference."
I get it.
So I saw so many people posting the difference between Black Lives Matter protests and like January 6th.
Right.
And there's just been evidence that there were literal cops, Capitol Police helping, who were probably
opening
on Parler,
doors
opening doors, taking selfies.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, a black police officer kind of like saves the day.
Saves people's lives regardless of party and shit.
I found that really like interesting. Police got a really bad rap all last summer, and then you have that kind of a violent protest like on the Capitol building, and it's a lot of people are saying Black Lives Matter is too aggressive, and then you have a black police officer, like this weird mixture dichotomy.
Saves Mitt Romney's life. Who has been so critical of Trump.
Yeah.
And if he had went down that way,
we don't know we don't know where we are right now.
Right.
That's what's so scary to me, like just the fact that it felt like a slap on the wrist. Like, how are you going to make sure people are going to be afraid to not do this again?
And I hate to say this, but I kind of wish they did like kill Mike Pence.
Oh my gosh, no.
Or I wish Mitt Romney had died, and not because I wish them to die, but I know that if Romney died, then they would have made such a fucking issue out of that.
But Josh, I think it's just tragic enough that 6 people,
of course, but it's like
had to die.
Yeah, but like
to begin with,
of course, but like only to us. Like they're nobody.
I would hope that's not true, but like, I'm seeing what you're seeing.
It's just, it sucks that it was like, if someone on their side died, they would have been like, Mike Pence's family wouldn't have. They would be like, yo, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And I'm sure that the 6 people that lost their lives that are just as angry, but it didn't do anything.
I mean,
that's what really hurts.
That's what hurts, and that's what's scary. I could shoot someone on 5th Avenue and people would still vote for me.
Right.
That's kind of haunting now, man.
You think he's
gonna? I laughed at that. It's just.
I mean, I thought it was a joke from the beginning, and then you're like,
I don't think 6 people had to lose their lives because, we weren't sure about an election that all the courts in the entire country verified.
Right.
It's just sad that had to happen.
Yeah. It just one person built all that up. Trump built all that up. That election being rigged. He said the same thing about Hillary.
Right.
The election's rigged. The election's rigged until he won. And it was like, oh yeah, I guess it wasn't, but like it's the same playbook, man. And I feel like.
Do you feel like there's Trump supporters you can still talk to?
Yeah, I mean,
because I still got
Trump
people who love Trump, and I'm still friends with them. It's like a weird reconciliation thing. I don't know. What's your experience with that?
I had to interview someone on this show that she like is a Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. She voted for Trump, and I was just kind of like, trying to understand because it's like. This wasn't this cycle. It was a 2016 cycle. This cycle, if you voted for Trump, it's kind of tough for me to like. Well, you just don't care about me then. The thing is, like, if you voted for Trump this time, racism is not a deal breaker for you.
Yeah,
it's not.
Right,
and that says a lot to me. So that's going to be difficult for me to like.
Reconcile that with
have a
people.
Conversation. That's a little difficult. But before, maybe you're confused. So I had to talk to a Trump supporter, and we talk. It's one thing if we can agree. It's funny, man. You can agree on business.
So many
you can agree
things.
on art.
Yeah.
You can agree on sports, and you can blah blah blah. But like, I don't know, man. Like,
but to that effect, though, so many people like have labeled me like a 100% pro Biden guy. And
right.
It's like. I voted for him, but he's not my guy.
Yeah,
so
right.
when you like put someone in a full category, there's
right. That's not good.
That's not good either.
Right.
But I think the place where we can actually heal is finding those nuances and connecting on an emotional level, because a lot of Trump supporters are just really impoverished people who aren't black.
Right.
Who are just trying to get by.
Right, and they're trying to be heard, and I get that. I can get along with Trump supporters. Well, I don't know about get along, but I can deal with Trump supporters when they say this to me. I'm like, fuck Trump, all this racism shit, and they generally say, or has sometimes say like, yeah, I'm not down with any fucking racism.
Right. But if I can put food on my table for my family, if he can make me think, I'm gonna do that. Then that's when you start having some empathy, and then that's when you're forced to think more critically.
It's a lot
of people are just say like, I don't like Trump. Okay, like I understand that, but if you're actually trying to further the conversation or really understand what people are coming from, you already know they like Trump or not when you're talking to them. And do you really want to learn about this person?
And it's like the misinformation out there is what makes people think that they like Trump, and maybe they really don't.
And that's where I think if you get to the emotional center where people are actually hurting, I think you bypass all that political bullcrap. Like you just get it out the way.
And so like I enjoy Biden being president. Do I think he's like the best president candidate? No. Is he Barack? No. Is he? But I like the fact that there's been many days where I haven't even fucking thought of that guy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Trump was like an everyday.
Trump was every day.
He
was just in my life every day. Yep. Biden, like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know,
dude. I hear every now and then.
I hear every now and then. He's just.
It's like I got a COVID puppy. It's like when you don't hear when nothing's going on, you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoy. I think he's doing a great job. Obviously, the vaccine. I think he's doing a great job keeping his head down and focused on what he's supposed to be doing. So I really enjoy that.
I'm not expecting like the moon and stars.
No, he's not. He's not the guy. And he's just said. I think he's talked about being a transitional president too. Like, but I like the fact that he's. Everything he says he's going to do, he's coming out. He's just being honest, whether you like what he's saying or not. I think he's saying stuff, and trust me, man. I feel like on both sides we needed
someone in the middle.
Yeah, he's a neutral dude. He's not, crazy, super liberal, and he's definitely not,
super conservative either. I mean, I think that's the best way forward is finding the nuances and like connecting and. Really doing the research to find out, okay, why is this person emotionally hurting? Okay,
right.
If I'm like,
and that's a tough question.
That's a tough. People are avoiding the tough question because I know if someone's a Trump supporter and I just want to like rail on them for being a Trump supporter, it's like, okay, what do I accomplish? Okay, well, I'm a Trump supporter because my religious views might lean this way, and I think this is going to be the best thing for my family financially. okay, you kind of just want to have a life,
right,
in your view.
Because I've like talked to people that have different views. I mean, I talk to people that I'm not, I've talked to people that like, for, people that are pro-gun.
Yep.
And like, they have like such a misconception about people that are pro-gun.
Yeah.
So people that are for guns, most of them, they're the most like, people respect these. I grew up in a house where I had a gun.
Yeah.
My dad did. But, most people that are like, that have guns, they got them the right way.
Right.
They're super respectful and they respect the weapon. They know, they're very educated on it.
Yep.
They're not just like, I bought this so I can just protect the castle and kill. There's
a fascination. There's a respect. There's a history.
There's a lot of respect.
Yep.
There's a lot of respect. But I think if you don't go and talk to them and so you both will agree that kids shouldn't be killed.
I mean,
do you know what I mean? Like you both will agree on this.
And that's the thing. If you get down to the emotional core of it,
right,
and you just
like but what we have done, like if you own a gun, you're like, oh,
you're a bad person.
You're a bad person.
You're okay with
you're okay with these kids getting
mass
killed.
shootings.
It's like no, I'm not okay with mass shootings.
And it's like
right.
Okay, how do we actually have this conversation instead of just instead of like continuing to politicize it, because like it still kind of gets politicized no matter what when the heart emotional cause is always,
right.
Avoided.
Yeah. And so when you have like, that's a great issue, because I feel like, people will say like, well, they should have background checks, things should be done the right way, and blah, blah, blah. That's the message. But then what's being fed out on Fox is, they're taking your guns. They're and then people hear that and they're taking our guns. I'm voting for Trump.
And maybe is the question, if you're going to look at it from an emotional, empathetic standpoint, then is the point, I guess the question I would ask is, why are you afraid?
Right, right.
Why are you afraid of your guns being taken away? And
right.
then my mind goes back to that, crazy Alex Jones clip where he's like, all these people took away the guns. They took away the guns. This is how like the ending. Right. This is how democracy ends when you start taking away the guns.
Right.
And it's like, let's reel back a little bit.
Right.
It's maybe not taking away all the guns because. No, Obama never did it.
Right.
Oddly enough, but maybe let's look at some places where we can have some leeway.
Yeah, can we maybe not have gun shows?
But then a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's a slippery slope, and that's just, I think, thinking too far towards one direction. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you can't find any nuance, like middle ground, I don't know where you're gonna, how you're gonna elevate the conversation. This is the tough thing, man, and I avoid these conversations too. It's like sometimes you just want to be angry, and you're not looking at from a human standpoint. What is this person feeling?
Do you ever sit back and realize like we're gonna be like 50 years old? I'm gonna call you up and it'd be like, hey man, do you like that? This is we obviously, our generation is like the craziest. I mean, we have seen. I mean, look at all the shit that we have seen. Like we experienced like 9/11.
Economic crash,
2008. We experienced 2020 is going to go down in history as like where were you when the world stopped?
Yep.
And I think it's going to be such an interesting year. We're living through the protests. We lived through several protests.
We lived through several protests, 2 recessions, a pandemic, right. Terrorist attack,
right.
a war that's gone on since 2003,
since we were
2001.
Right.
It's been interesting.
We're wild green. So the fact that we're sitting here just like good and we're not like losing our minds.
It's fascinating. And that the internet's kicking off, like the digital age is kind of kicking off all at the same time. Like we were the last generation that played outside before the internet was a thing.
That's it. Yeah, man.
It's really interesting.
I take my daughter's phone sometimes. I'm just like, you're gonna be okay if I hold it for fucking 10 seconds.
I'm worried about that, man. Like just having kids and like just
it's
are
wild.
they gonna be able to play
it's
as
wild.
much as I played
it's
as a kid?
I will tell you what. I'll leave you with this piece of hope. Mm-hmm. My daughter, which I thought was interesting, like when the election happened. Mm-hmm. My daughter is 11 at the time. Her birthday's coming up. She's 11 at the time, and she's in a group chat with all of her friends. It's like a group chat. It's terrible. Amy reads all her text messages. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know that. Freedom, you don't know that, but we read them every night, baby. Don't let her watch this.
Oh, boy.
But anyway.
Oh, boy.
It's always about cats and unicorns. But anyway, on that night when Amy screenshotted it to me, freedom, and all her friends were like, Biden won. Oh my God, he won. Biden. You know, that's what they're all talking about. And I was like, not excited that her friends were talking about Biden. I was like, you know and care about the presidency.
What's going on?
That's fucking crazy.
Yep.
Did you know who the president was at 11? Did you even give a shit?
That's when I had to start.
Right.
Inauguration, George Bush. Like,
it's crazy, right?
That's crazy.
I thought that was nuts. And so I will say this, she's on TikTok and stuff, and that generation, man, that's going to be the one.
Oh, dude.
They are not standing for any fucking bullying. Like, it's not cool. They made it like, you're like not cool.
I'm still kind of reeling from Tulsa. Yeah. All the TikTokers that made Trump think he was going they're going to sell out the arena and then no one
There's a thing with her generation where they're like, if you're ridiculed for being different, they will fucking out you.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weirder, like, no one's going to be made fun of. Like, they don't do that. They don't play that. Which is a very...
And I think we kind of had that growing up, but there was only so much we felt we could do.
Right.
I think this thing in our pocket has given that generation more like, okay, well, I'm going to say something about this now. I'm going to put it out.
And it could be powerful. Yeah, man.
And I think that's a good way to, it's a good, I think we're in the middle of that.
I think we'll be seeing protests till you and I die.
Yeah.
But I do believe that those generations coming after us, I think some of the things that we have fought for during and continuing to fight for during these years, I really do think it's going to echo.
Oh, it's gonna echo. It's gonna develop. Yeah. It's gonna change. I'm excited to see where it's gonna go to that edge.
Yeah, man.
Just filmmaking wise, let me talk to you. How's the whole filmmaking game going for you?
Oh man, filmmaking.
How's editing? How's producing? How's directing? How's all that stuff?
I'm like, I got the itch. I'm writing a lot, and so I have the itch to like. I'm ready. Like, open this thing back up.
Yeah.
But it's been cool to be able to literally not be able to do it for a while. Yeah. And so now I'm like really gearing up to do it. I watched The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And
I'm a
huge Star Wars fan.
What'd you think of
what happened?
Where were you?
Where were you?
I was gonna say when you saw
it.
Yeah, I think that moment was so amazing because the entire time I was telling myself they're not doing it. When the X-wing landed, I'm like, that's not
that whole
that's
episode. Well, I get a text from my brother, and he texts me all the time, but this one was just like all caps, like, you need to watch The Mandalorian tonight. And I was like, okay, I'll watch it. So I'm watching the episode, like, okay, it's not Star Wars, but it's different.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm watching it, and then this, I hear the and I see an X-wing. I'm like, what the fuck?
I'm like, okay, it's an X-wing.
Yeah, I'm like, it's an X-wing, and then you see him come in, and the way that Favreau, right?
Yeah, man.
God, it's like,
Favreau and Peyton Reed directed that episode. The guy that did Bring It On, he directed that episode.
Man,
yeah.
It's like I never experienced having something that I wanted so bad and didn't know I wanted it. Exactly. That was just like, because for me, you never saw Luke work out.
Yeah, man.
In those first 3 movies, he was like training, and he did some fights with Vader,
and then at Jedi, he's like, oh, finally a Jedi Knight. Yeah, well, that's the end of that saga.
And we never see you again. Then we saw him in the other 3 that were like that JJ tried to save, and Rain was,
you're gonna hate me. I'm the Last Jedi lover.
I think the movie was good.
I love the Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. Is that he dusted himself? Is that this one?
Yep. Got his Jay-Z on. That was Mark Hamill's idea, apparently.
I was like, did he just dust his shoulder off? No, my daughter really liked that one too. I thought it was good. But in those 3, you didn't see him work out.
No, but in this one, in that Mandalorian finale,
my God.
Man, like
you saw him like
everything you kind of wanted to see.
That like I watched my son. He's this Darth Vader right now. Everything he does is Vader. Everything he wants is Vader.
Really, champ? Yeah.
Oh man, everything is Vader. Like he knows all the lines.
Really?
Yeah, he knows all the lines.
Man, awesome. That's awesome.
And then I'm trying to be a good parent, and I got to figure out who's fucking my kid right now. But I'm trying to be a good parent, so I won't show him certain parts. He's 3. I'm not gonna let Vader. I'm not gonna show him Vader chop Luke's arm off. Right. So I stop it there.
Yeah.
And then I come back like the next night, and I'm like, Jim, why do you like Vader? Like he cuts Luke's arm off. I'm like, how did you see that? Who's showing it?
It's hard to avoid that. Now,
YouTube is a thing.
It's you can like
the kid is
the first Darth Vader thing you're gonna see. It's like
he sees all this stuff, but he loves Vader. But the only thing he wants to see also, because he every night he's like, Dad, can we see Vader? And I'm like, man, he wants to see that scene in Rogue One.
Right, I was gonna say that the scene in Rogue One and the end of the Mandalorian, they were so mirrored.
They were so mirrored.
Someone put them next to each other,
and those are the only two he wants to see. And I'm
man.
Dude. So it just, I'm having a great time. It all started because me and Freedom. This is during the pandemic. It was one of those good things. I was just like, I told her since she was like 5, we're gonna watch Star Wars.
Yeah,
and so we actually watched all of them.
Nice.
And in the right order.
Good dad.
Yeah.
Good dad.
We started, A New Hope.
Yep.
We did it that way and then did it real way. So we did all that, and that's what led us up to it. But so that's been good, and it was just really nice to like, and bringing it all the way back.
Yeah.
To Clubhouse. It's been cool that some of those guys, and you could listen to some of these people talk about some of the projects that they're working on and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. But I think through that whole thing kind of gave me this like, all right, I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to get out and flex the muscles again. And
that's the one thing I do like about Clubhouse. There's that energy there. People who are trying to make it happen, or are in the midst of making it happen, or who are in the middle of production right then and there. They can kind of lend their ear, and you can kind of feed off that energy of wherever you are in that totem pole.
The thing about Clubhouse that I think nothing else, no other social media platform has, which I definitely have to give it its props. It makes you fucking listen, man.
Yeah.
You're not talking unless you're a speaker.
Yep.
So it forces everyone to listen, and I don't think anyone does that on any other social media platform. And that's the thing that, we talked about racism and COVID and just getting to the core of who people are. We need to do some real listening. And I thought that was, I was like, oh, these jokers may be onto something.
Yeah. It's kind of like, human radio to a certain degree. It's not quite a podcast. It's not quite a direct conversation. It's somewhere like in a weird middle. I like it, especially for creatives who have had a tough time during the pandemic. Because I think at first a lot of people were like, oh man, get a little bit of a break. This is nice. And it's like by month 6, it's like, okay.
You're like, okay, I'm tough.
I can do this. Yep. All right. We're gonna make eggs for the 7th time this week.
Right.
And then we're gonna start at 1 tomorrow.
We're gonna do another one tomorrow, guys. Next day, eggs.
Yeah, and I think just hearing other people's voices, like knowing other people are there, and just having those collective talks, like me and my 2 buddies back from Detroit, like we've been FaceTiming almost every other day.
Wow.
We talked a lot before the pandemic, but that's really strengthened our bond there. And so there's been a lot of ways where you've kind of been forced to make yourself work a little better, think a little harder, and I think you're right. Listening.
Yeah, man. That's the thing.
That'll be because right now that's the last thing anyone wants to do is listen.
It's like I got a point, you got a point, but listening is the thing.
And I gotta like reel back on myself, like when I see that, when I'm just sometimes you'll be so ingrained in an idea that you won't take a step back.
Of course. Yeah.
I think all of us need to do that.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, man.
And just chatting. Tell everyone your handles so everyone can just follow you and stay connected.
Calvin O'Neal Jr. at Instagram. That's at CalvinOnealjr. You can find me there. Or you can just go to my website, calvinonealjr.com. See all my work there, everything I've been working on the past decade, and what I got cooking up next. And yeah.
Awesome, man. Dude, Calvin,
thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, keep it up.
All right.
Yeah.
It's Uncreative Radio. We out.
Peace.